All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to be digital architects. We're going to peel back the layers on a tool that, let's be honest, most of us probably use every single day. A simple to-do app. I mean, how do you keep track of it all? No, seriously, think about it for a second. The mental load is it's constant, right? You've got work deadlines, doctor's appointments, groceries to buy, that book you swore you'd read. Oh, and you got to call your friend back. It's a lot. And look, it doesn't matter if your system is a bunch of sticky notes on your monitor, a fancy leather-bound journal, or an app on your phone. The goal is always the same, isn't it? Get all that stuff out of your brain and into some kind of organized system you can trust. So that's what we're doing today. We are going straight behind the screen of a basic to-do app to see how these things are actually born. We're going to look at the blueprint, the building materials, the engine room, the whole shebang. We're going to understand the anatomy of a basic software project. You ready? Let's dive in. Okay, first things first, where does a project like this even live? I mean, where does the code hang out? Well, for millions of developers all over the world, the answer is a place called GitHub. So what is a GitHub repository? Well, the best way to think about it is it's a public home for a software project. It's part workshop, part instruction manual, and part history book, all rolled into one. It's not just some folder on a computer. It's more like a glass-walled workshop where you can see everything. The tools being used, the original blueprints, and a log of every single change made since day one. And that's really the key difference, right? A folder on your own computer, that's private. It's static. It just sits there. But a GitHub repository, oh, that's something else entirely. It's built from the ground up for sharing, for tracking every little change, and for collaboration. It takes what could be a solo project and opens it up to become a potential community effort. All right, so we know where the app lives. Now let's grab the keys, unlock the door, and take a tour of the place. We're going on a guided tour of its core components. We're going to break this tour into 3 main stops. First up, we'll check out the instruction manual, the thing that tells us what this project is all about. Then we'll look at the building blocks, the actual materials it's made from. And finally, we'll head down to the engine room where all the magic happens. So every good project has to start with some clear instructions, right? In the world of software, that's usually a file called a README. And this one gets right to it. No confusing jargon, just a simple statement of purpose. This is our front door. Okay, stop number 2 on our tour, the building blocks. If this app was a house, these are the raw materials. And what we see here is that it's built with 3 main programming languages. You can see JavaScript is doing most of the heavy lifting, over 60%. Then you have HTML and a little bit of CSS. But what do those names actually mean? What does each one do? This is where it gets really cool. Let's stick with that house analogy. HTML, that's the skeleton. It's the studs and the drywall. It creates the actual structure. Here's a button, here's a text box. Then comes CSS, the interior designer. CSS picks the paint colors, the fonts, the spacing. It makes everything look nice and presentable. And then there's JavaScript. JavaScript is the brain of the whole operation. It's the wiring, the plumbing, the smart home system. It handles all the logic and makes things happen when you click a button. And that brings us to our final stop, the engine room. This is the source code itself. Now, don't worry, you don't need to be a programmer to get this. Just think of these files as the recipes. They contain the step-by-step logic that tells your web browser exactly how to turn your clicks into actions, like adding or deleting a task. This is where the work gets done. Okay, so this begs a pretty big question, right? There are literally thousands of to-do apps out there. Why on earth would a developer build another one? Well, the answer is actually pretty fascinating, and it has almost nothing to do with organizing your grocery list. It's all about education. See, for a new developer who's just learning the ropes, building a to-do app is basically the perfect training ground. It's simple enough that you won't get totally overwhelmed, but it's just complex enough to teach you the absolute fundamental skills you need. It's a true rite of passage in the programming world. Think about it. This one single project bundles together an entire essential skill set. It's basically a portfolio in a box for any aspiring developer. And just look at what a simple app like this proves. It shows you can design a user interface that people can actually use. It shows you can manage data, adding, editing, and deleting stuff. It proves you can write the core logic to make the app work the way it's supposed to. And it even shows you can organize your files in a clean way. If you're an employer and you see a well-made to-do app on a junior developer's GitHub, that is a huge green flag. All right, let's zoom out for a second for our final point.
Because the real power of putting a project like this out there on GitHub, it goes way beyond just one person's learning journey.
When a developer makes their personal learning project public, it becomes something more. It becomes a public resource. They're not just showing off their skills, they're adding to this giant global library of knowledge. Now, another learner somewhere else in the world can find this code, study it, and maybe even build on top of it for their own project. That idea right there, that's the heart and soul of open source. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What's the to-do app in your field? What's that one fundamental, foundational project, the thing that, if you can do it from start to finish, proves you've really got the basics down cold? It doesn't matter if you're a chef, a writer, a mechanic, or an artist. Finding and mastering your version of the to-do app, well, that's your first real step towards mastery.